Hello, my name is Handy, and I will be going over my project for CS643, the image recognition pipeline in AWS. So at a high level, we have two EC2 instances, instance A and instance B, and they're running in parallel. The first instance retrieves images from a specified S3 bucket and calls the AWS recognition API to perform object detection. If a car has been detected with confidence greater than 80%, the index of that image is sent to SQS, where the second EC2 instance will retrieve these indices and perform text recognition on them. And any text that is detected with confidence greater than 80% will be stored in an output file in EBS with the associated image index. Um, So in this video, I'll be going over the steps outlined in this README in order to perform or in order to run this pipeline. Um, there is a configuration file which specifies parameters needed to run the scripts. The object recognition pipeline will be run on instance A, and that creates a queue if there isn't one created, or gets the queue. And then it performs object detection and sends the image index to the queue if there's a car recognized. Text detection pulls from the queue, can create one as well, um, and performs text detection and outputs to the file in EBS. And the order which both of these are run does not matter. Because they both have this get or create queue function. So if text detection is run first, it'll create the queue that is with the name specified in the config.py file, um, and it will just wait for the object recognition script to send indices to the SQS queue. Um, and yeah, same thing with it. It can go the other way around as well. The object recognition script can run first, create the queue, and then send indices to the queue. And the text detection pipeline will just read said indices. So in order to perform um, the pipeline, to run the pipeline, you'll first need to get the credentials for your first need to get your AWS credentials. So you're going to need your AWS access key ID, secret access key, and session token from Learner Lab, so that those are stored underneath AWS CLI. You also need to download the PEM key and save it somewhere safe because we will need to reference these later on in the demo. And the second step is to launch the two EC2 instances in the AWS console. So go to AWS, hit launch instances, and you will specify the configurations for each instance, instance A and instance B. So we'll go over here, give this one a name. We'll do instance A first. We're going to select the Amazon Linux AMI. The key pair that we will use is the VOC key pair. We also need to allow traffic from the current IP address of the computer that you're using, and we will allow traffic from HTTPS and HTTP endpoints. So we're going to initialize the first instance, and once it spins up, we will repeat the process for the second one. Okay, it's been initiated, and now we will do the same for instance B. Okay, we're going to use the same AMI, the Amazon Linux 2023 one, kernel 6.1. And once it loads, we will select the same key pair. And we will also allow traffic from my IP address and select these two radio buttons as well. Launch the instance. And the next step is to get the public IP address for each instance, because we will need these in order to SSH into them, um, as well as copying files from our local machine to these instances. So we will go into both of them and select the public IP v4 address, copy it, save it somewhere. So this is the public IP address for instance A. We'll do the same for B. Okay. And the next step is to set up the remote connection in VS Code. So we will go to VS Code, select Control Shift P. We will connect to a host. We will add a new host, and we will um, we will enter this command. So it's ssh-i, and then you will place the path to the PEM key that we downloaded from Learner Lab, and then we will paste the public IP address here of this first instance. So we'll go in here, get the IP address of instance A. Copy, and we will paste it here. And we will update the following configuration file. Okay, so it says host added. We'll go to the side here, select Remote Explorer, and instance A's IP address began with 3, so we will go ahead and open this one in a new window. It's opening the remote host. Okay, and we'll select Linux, then continue. Okay, perfect. And we will select open folder, select this one, and then we will repeat the process for instance B. So once this is complete, we will have finished the process of SSHing into the first instance. So yeah, we see we're connected, perfect. So we will go and repeat the same process, Control Shift P, connect a host, add a new one, and we will need the same command as before, SSH using the PEM key, and then we'll have to paste the IP address of instance B. Copy and paste it here. Place it in the following configuration file, and perfect. We now see instance B's IP address right here. We'll open it in a new window. Select Linux, continue. Let it connect. Might have to give it a minute. Hit open folder, and then OK. And then we will have SSH'd into both instance A and EC2 instance B. Okay, perfect. So now we'll have to copy the Python files from our local machine to EC2, to the EC2 instances. So we will have to run, excuse me, the following commands on the local terminal. And so what this first one does is it will copy the object recognition Python script from our local machine to the remote host. And so for instance A, we will need the object recognition Python script in the configuration file. So these are the only two that we will need. So we will run these two. And then we go back to instance A. This Windows instance A, this Windows instance B. We'll go to A and we see these two files here for us to use. So we'll go over here and we will repeat the same, but for instance B. And instance B requires the configuration file and the text detection file. So we will copy over its public IP address and repeat the process. Okay, and we see over here the configuration file and the text detection file. Perfect. Okay, and next on both EC2 instances in the remote terminals, we will have to install Python and Boto 3, which is the AWS SDK library. So we go here, open up a new terminal by hitting Control Shift and the tick mark or the tilde mark. That's to the left of the one key on your keyboard. Run these two commands on both A and B. And you'll see it'll install all of the required and necessary packages. Okay, so instance B is good. And now instance A, perfect. Okay, now we have to configure the AWS credentials file on both instances. This is where we will use the access key ID, secret access key, and session token that we copied from step one. So in both instances, we will first make a directory called .aws in our root directory. We will create a credentials file and then open that up. And then we will copy and paste the credentials from Learner Lab. Okay. And then we will do the same for instance B. Copy the credentials and paste it in this file. Perfect. So now we're ready to run the pipeline. We can run, I will demo the project running on instance A first, the object detection script first, and then also the other way around, running the text detection script first. So we will put instance B on the right side, instance A on the left. Okay, and we can also go into the console, and we see there are no queues yet, and we have the two EC2 instances. So if we go ahead and run this Python 3, we're going to ignore the warnings that come up for using an older Python version, as they're not necessary or applicable to our project. And we will run the object recognition one. And we see that first it created an instance. I apologize. First it created a queue called project queue.fifo. A car was found in image 1, so it was sent to the queue. No car was found in image 10, so it skipped that one. And then it found cars in images 2 through 7. and then it completed the process. And if we go over here to the queue, you'll see that queue has been created and there are 8 messages available. And so we will process each one of these using instance B and the text detection script. So we will run this one, and instead of creating a queue, it is now using the queue called project queue.FIFO, and it will process each one of the messages that was created and remove it from the queue. And also, it produces this results.txt file here that was not here before. You'll select it, and you see that um, image 1, it detected this text. Image 3, it detected a few different texts at 80% or higher confidence. And we will now delete this file and redo the process, but with running instance B or the text detection script before the object recognition one. So we will create a new queue called project Q2. And let's see what happens. So we run this one first, and now we see it created a queue called project Q2.FIFO, and object recognition script hasn't run yet, so there's no images that have been sent to the queue yet. So instance B is just waiting right now. Then we run the object recognition one. We see that they're running in parallel. And for the for instance A, before it created the queue, now it's using the queue that instance B created. And again, we will get the same results, results.txt, and these are the images that have cars and text, both with greater than 80% confidence. And we will confirm this or check the results by checking each image. So we see image 1, it it detected the S as a dollar sign. Image 2 is a car, and it was processed in the queue, but it wasn't written to the output file because there was no text. Image 3, it captured the 85% here, captured the 1150, captured this 45, the P's that are on the image. Image 4 detected the license plate. Image 9, for example, wasn't even sent to the queue by the object detection pipeline because there's no car found. Same with image 10 and 8. And if we check 7, we see that this text is here in the output file. And then when we go to the console, we see that now we have 2 queues that we created, and both have 0 messages. They've all been processed by instance B, the text recognition script. So that is all for my project. Yeah, thank you so much for watching.